Thank you for joining me as we come back and look at the finish of what's called my Quilted with Love quilt that was purchased from Shabby Fabrics, and I believe it was done by the Quilt Company. This was a complete laser cut quilt package and kit. I usually do not do those, but this was so incredibly cute. And I wanted to step out and do something really nice as I've put away my quilting business and want to focus on my education classes. So I want to show this rather than a photo, which I normally do. This is actually a video so that I can show the different things we went over and how they fit into the quilt as a whole. We started, well, before I do, let's look at the back of this first and talk about the main thing that was the concentration in doing this quilt. The first focus was to talk about how to use double batting without getting any puckers, but still stitching in the ditch. So this was done using 2 layers of batting, cotton on the bottom, wool on the top, both from Quilter's Dream. Putting them in that way helps keep them from sliding around. However, the stitching in the ditch has a lot to do with it as well. So I hope you'll take my word for this if you cannot see it, but there are no puckers on this quilt at all. It turned out beautiful, just gorgeous. So this is the back. We accomplished that in the fashion that we followed to get it done. Let's go back to the front. In order to accomplish that, we started in the center of our quilt, quilted those blocks, which in this case was ruler work. There were only 2 complete blocks. The rest were either half square or quarter square finishes. So we talked about how we would do that. And then we moved out, and as we did, we continued to stitch in the ditch. But from there, we went out to the applique blocks, and we did the background with what I call the little raindrops. They're little, say a little feathers, but in this case, they really look like little water drops. Then what I did not show was moving out beyond that to these 2 side borders, and they're only on the side, stitching in the ditch only around the yellow. That gave more pop. And then working little fun daisies that were all interconnected with little loops all the way up that. Just a little add of whimsical. The main challenge on this quilt was to add some lovely things without being too whimsical, but not being too fancy, and tying it all together. All right, we saw the outside somewhat when we talked about the little loops in the background stitching, but we still stitched around all of the applique, just added the feathers to have a nice finish. I did go back and use the quilted pineapple number 10 rulers in the corners back on the sides, just in those corners to get from pot to pot. It added a really nice finish. It tied it all together, and it's hard to see all the corners together. I'm going to hope perhaps you can. Really gives a nice finish. I used the 20 to get some of these drops going down. I could have drawn it, but I wanted a good finish. I had not planned on doing anything in the outer border, but went ahead and did what I would call just a little peg border or pegboard. Beadboard, thank you, beadboard on the outside. It just made it lay better, and I enjoyed it a lot. This will go above my piano in the spring and or summer, and I think it turned out gorgeous. I just love it. So I hope you enjoyed going through this with me. Wait to the next post, and we'll see what we're going to move on to next. Thank you.